What a dream I had last night. Every night my mind goes to a place I have no understanding of. There has to be an explanation for this. What do dreams mean? How do they work? And what is their importance? I may not know much about dreaming, but I suspect Freud is a good place to start.
In the pages that follow, I shall bring forward proof that there is a psychological technique which makes it possible to interpret dreams, and that, if that procedure is employed, every dream reveals itself as a psychical structure, which has a meaning and which can be inserted at an assignable point in the mental activities of waking life.
So, how is Freud's work viewed by psychologists today? Dr. Paul Fleming, consultant clinical psychologist.
Freud's studies were very interesting, but they're based on clinical narrative material. So one immediate problem is that they tend to be confined to clinical practice and they've not been experimentally researched, which steals a little bit of their power, if you like, as studies.
But so far as actual empirical dream research is concerned, he's of absolutely no importance because he didn't do any.
Robin Campbell, retired psychologist.
He followed a method of analysis of dreams which has never been substantiated by either by any convincing research or convincing demonstration of its effectiveness. And that was to always to look for the latent content of dreams. Freud will then say, oh, well, it isn't really a dream about a man picking apples from a tree. It's the apples represent nipples or some other grotesque Freudian symbology.
The other serious problem, I think, with Freud is he introduced the notion of universal symbolism. And the idea behind this is that if different people have a similar type of dream, that it probably means the same thing. That one symbol can universally mean something to all people is probably wrong.
Before he developed any of these strange ideas, he relied upon the method of free association to read the dreams. But later that all went out the window, really.
The significance of dreams and interpreting them from a professional point of view is a more slippery question. I think sometimes interpretations can be biased and contextualised, and the tools and the heuristics for converting, if you like, the information in the dream into what it might mean clinically or what its significance might be are difficult and complex.
People often ask that question too. They say, what are the functions of dreaming? And there are no good answers. But we shouldn't be too worried about that, because there are no good answers to the question, what are the functions of sleeping?
There is a clear relationship between sleeping and dreaming. By studying the reasons for why we sleep, perhaps we will be given a better understanding of why we dream.
For centuries, sleep's been defined into at least three stages: light sleep, deep sleep, and dreaming sleep.
Chris Jagowski, director of Edinburgh Sleep Centre.
It wasn't until the late 1950s, early 1960s, when electrodes were being put onto the scalp to measure what the brain was doing, that it was noted that dreaming occurred when the eyes were darting around and when the activity in the brain pretty much looked as if the person was awake rather than asleep.
I recently heard about Leslie Curry, a student from Glasgow who suffers from narcolepsy. I was curious to know whether she dreams during a narcoleptic episode.
When I first got diagnosed, I wasn't falling asleep as such. I was starting to get investigated because I was dreaming a lot. I was maybe having 14, 15, 16 nightmares a night, and I was also sleepwalking and talking in my sleep. But the dreams they're not just nightmares, they're not just scary, they're vivid, as if there's someone in the room with you all the time, or as if you're in a different place. You don't get any rest with them.
If it's a nightmare, a non-pharmacological approach is to rehearse during the day how you can counteract the nightmare. So to try to, develop a sense of you are within the nightmare, and then what can you do to actually diffuse the situation.
For a normal person, when you fall asleep, it takes maybe 20 minutes or so before you start dreaming. But when you have narcolepsy, some people it takes as little as 10 seconds before you start dreaming. Personally, I'm about 3 to 4 minutes before I start dreaming. And what that does is, because you're dreaming so much during the night, you don't ever get a proper sleep. So then during the day, you're a lot more tired, so you're more likely to fall asleep.
What treatments can the world of medicine offer to people with sleep disorders? And how do these medicines affect dreaming?
Most antidepressants will reduce rapid eye movement sleep. It doesn't matter whether the person's depressed or not. The bad side of that is if you go off the antidepressants, you do tend to get rapid eye movement sleep rebound.
There's some weird treatments. One of the other ones they use is actually amphetamines. So I don't know. I don't personally feel that strongly about being on speed for the rest of my life because it has a lot of side effects.
Science can offer us many interpretations, but some questions remain unanswered. Perhaps alternative beliefs can offer us a solution which Western medicine cannot. Tracing back to ancient cultures and beliefs, people have always had an inclination to interpret their dreams. The Bible alone has over 700 references to dreaming. Between 3000 and 4000 BC, people were unable to distinguish between the dream world and the waking world, or they simply chose not to make such a distinction. The Greeks believed that dreams were direct messages from the gods, or from the dead. They also believed that dreams forewarned and predicted what will happen in the future. In the Middle Ages, dreams were seen as evil, and its images were seen as temptations from the devil. The Chinese believe that when you fall asleep, the soul leaves the body and travels to the dream world. If they should be suddenly awakened, the soul may fail to return to the body. For this reason, some Chinese today are wary of alarm clocks. Linda Hayher, practitioner in traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture.
In
Chinese medicine, the Shen, which is basically the essence of the being, if the blood is deficient energetically, the Shen is not anchored, it's not held down. And if it's not held down, then it floats and you get these nightmares or you get these vivid dreams.
Leslie has vast personal experience of these vivid dreams.
Quite often, because I'm doing the maths degree, I'll get dreams where I can't do an equation and I start going crazy in my sleep.
Your dreams might be a means of trying to resolve an issue that you wouldn't necessarily recognise in your conscious thought throughout the day, but at night it can help find a solution to the problem that you have.
One time when I was a kid though, I had a dream that my mum was in a car accident, and I got up and I was really freaked out. I was only about 11 or 12 at the time, or maybe 10 even. And I got up and I said to my babysitter, you have to tell my mum not to take that road tonight because something's going to happen to her. And my mum actually was in an accident that night with a fire engine and she broke a bone in her neck.
I think the other thing that's probably important about dreams is maybe not so much the dream in itself, but the amount of belief that you invest in the dream having had it. So, for example, if you had a dream tonight that you're going to win the lottery and you believe the dreams foretold the future, you'd probably be very happy tomorrow, waiting to pick up your millions. So I think it's not just about the content of the dream, but the belief that you put in that dream afterwards.
But so far as actual empirical dream research is concerned,
Before
it's of absolutely no importance.
Significance of dreams.
But the dreams are not
Too many answers, too many voices, and too many opinions. The field of dreaming is filled with weird and wonderful mysteries, which invite equally weird and wonderful explanations. It seems to me that your own beliefs play the largest part in determining what your dreams mean.
If you enjoyed this program, find more Radio 4 podcasts on bbc.co.uk/Radio 4. Join us next week for Fabrication: How Far is Too Far?